Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, I'll discuss about how does useEffect hook works in React. So if you are someone who have just started learning React, then useEffect hook is very important for you to understand. So if you want to understand how useEffect hook works, then you can watch this video till the end and you will get a good understanding. Also, if you are someone who is experienced React developer, but still you can watch this video, so it will just refresh your concepts about useEffect hook. So now let's get started. So first thing first, so what is exactly useEffect hook? So basically useEffect hook, it's a built-in React hook, that allows you to perform side effects. So what are the side effects? Side effects like you can fetch data from API, you can update the DOM, or you can set up some event listener to the DOM. Okay? So that is what useEffect hook is used for. Also, if you are familiar with the class-based component, so you can see that in the class-based component, we have some lifecycle methods, right? Like the componentDidMount, componentDidUpdate, component will unmount. But those lifecycle methods are not available in the functional component. Okay, so how can we achieve those lifecycle methods in the functional component? That thing we can do using useEffect hook. Okay, so useEffect hook can also be used to set up, like to create lifecycle methods, but for the functional components, and also it is used to handle the side effects. So with that being said, I will now take you to the VS Code and I will show you how you can use how you can use useEffect hook. So let's get started. Okay, so I am back in my VS Code. So I have created a blank React project using Vite and I have started the local server. Okay, so as you can see on the right side, the local server is running and it is printing hi there. Okay, so in order to use useEffect hook, first of all, you have to import it using React. So as you can see in the top, we have already imported the useEffect hook from React and now you can use it. So first of all, I will tell you what is the syntax about, what does the syntax looks like in useEffect hook. So the syntax is basically the useEffect hook, it takes two parameters. Okay, so first one, so useEffect hook takes two parameters. Okay, so first one is a callback function. Okay, so you can see we have declared the useEffect hook and inside that we have passed a callback function. And now the second parameter, that is a dependency array. So now that second parameter is optional, but the first parameter is mandatory. That means the callback function you have to pass some function, and the second parameter, that is the dependency array, that is optional. And based on so whatever value that you pass in dependency array, based on that, this callback function that is inside this useEffect hook, that gets run. Okay, so that means you can control whenever you want that function to run by providing different value of the dependency array. And in the dependency array, we can provide different types of values, like we can provide an empty array like that, or we can pass some dependency, suppose any variable, suppose count. So we have not yet declared count, but you can pass it like that, or you can you can leave it entirely blank. So that is also possible. So now I will talk about how does it makes a difference, based on what dependency value we are passing, how does it change the behavior of the useEffect hook. So here I have created a diagram that will explain you how does useEffect hook work. So basically it has given a diagram like about so how does useEffect behave when you pass different types of dependency arrays. Okay, so you can see first time we have passed an empty array, and that is something, and second time we have not passed anything. Okay, in the dependency we are not passing anything, and the third time we have passed a dependency array and we have specified some variables there. So how does it makes a difference in the behavior of the useEffect hook? So now let's try to see that. So first of all, I'll talk about what will happen if we pass an empty array. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, and I will pass a empty array here. Okay, so I have passed that. Now if we refresh the screen, you can see on the right side in the console, you can see the inside the useEffect hook. Okay, so here the thing is, when you are passing empty dependency array, that means it will run only on initial render. That means when the component is mounted for the first time, that time only it will run. So I'll just show you a demo for that. Okay, so basically what we have done is that we have created a state, we have created a count, and we have stored that in state, and we have created a button that will basically increase the count. And since the value of the count is stored in the state, that means whenever the button is clicked, that means the state is updated. That means that component gets re-rendered. Okay, so on the right side you can see if we click on that button, it will increase the count. The count is increasing. Now the interesting part is that here, just look at that. So when the increase button is clicked, that means the component gets re-rendered. Okay, but this use effect, this thing, this does not run. This does not run even when the component gets re-rendered. Okay, so that is because we have passed that dependency array. So remember what I told you, like whenever we are passing, if you see this image, so when we are passing an empty dependency array, that means that is only run during when the component gets mounted for the first time, and that is the first time that will run, and after that it will never run. Even if the component gets re-rendered, then also it will not run. That is because we have passed that empty dependency array. Okay, so if you can relate to the lifecycle method, you can see like this is somewhere, it is related to, it is kind of similar to the componentDidMount. Okay, that means it will only run when the component gets mounted for the first time, and after that it will never run. Okay, so that is the thing you need to know. Like when you are passing that empty dependency array, that means it will run that function only in the first time when the component gets mounted, and this is similar to the componentDidMount. Okay, so when you pass empty dependency array using useEffect hook, then you can implement componentDidMount lifecycle method using useEffect hook in a React functional component. We have already implemented the componentDidMount. Now let's try to see how you can implement componentDidUpdate. Okay, so how can you implement componentDidUpdate using useEffect hook? Okay, so we have this code. So in order to implement componentDidUpdate, what you can do is that you just don't need to pass anything as a dependency array. You just plus blank. You don't pass anything as a dependency array. So if you can see this image, you can see we are not passing anything. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll just remove that. We'll just remove this dependency array and we'll leave everything else as it is. Okay, so now what it should happen is that when this increment button is clicked, that means the component gets re-rendered, and whenever the component gets re-rendered, this use effect tool will still run this time, because we have not passed any parameter as a dependency array. That means every time the component gets re-rendered, this use effect hook will run. Okay, so let's see its demo. If you refresh the screen, if you click on this button, you can see as you click on the button, here the count is also increasing inside the use effect hook. So just note that when you are not passing anything as the dependency array, that means that use effect hook use effect tool will run when the component gets rendered for the first time, and it will also run when the component gets updated. That means the component gets re-rendered. So that is how you can implement componentDidUpdate method, lifecycle method in React functional component using useEffect hook. Alright, so now we will cover this thing when we are passing a dependency array and we are actually passing some dependency there. So that means when you are passing some dependency array and you're specifying some values in that, so that means that time whenever the component gets mounted for the first time, that useEffect hook will run, and after that whenever the component gets re-rendered, then it will check if the value of the data has been changed or not, and if the value of the data has been changed, then only it will run that useEffect hook. Otherwise, if the component gets re-rendered, that means the component is re-rendered, but the value of the data has not been changed. In that case, it will not trigger the useEffect hook. Okay, so now I'll show you that demo in the code. So let's go back to VS Code. Okay, so here what I will do is that I will create a new count. Okay, so I will do it like this: set count A. Now we will create two use effect hook, and we will pass first we will pass count A here. Okay, so basically what we have done is that we have created two separate state, count A, count B, and we have created separate methods for that. Separate buttons to increase them individually. And now we have created two useEffect hook, useEffect 1, useEffect 2. You can see, so the difference is that here we have passed separate dependency array. Okay, that means in the first one we have passed a count A, and second one is the count B. Okay, so now let's see how it is working. So if we refresh this page, and now if we, so you can see, so when the component gets re-rendered, then both of them will run. To refresh this screen, you can see, so when the component gets re-rendered, so in that case both of them will run. You can see component A, like count A, count B, both are running. So if you see this image, you can see, like, when we have also said that, like, when you are passing some dependency array, when passing some value, it will always run for the initial render. So that is what is happening here. And now if we click on increase A, okay, there is some error. It is saying count is not defined. Okay, that is because we have to make it count A here, count B. Now you can save it. You can clear the console, refresh the page. Now if we click on the increase A button, you can see the count A is increasing. Yeah, count A is increasing, and the console log inside the useEffect hook of count A is logging. You can see inside the count A. But if we click on this multiple times, the count B, this thing, this useEffect hook, this is not running. This is not running because we have passed the dependency as here as count B. So that means when the count A is changing, count B is not changing. So since the count B is not changing, that means it will not run this useEffect hook. Okay, so that is the main thing you have to note here. So basically, on the simultaneously, if you can see, if you click on this count B, that means it will increase the count of count B. And if you talk about this thing here, we have passed the dependency as count A, not B. So when that means that when the count B changes, then this useEffect will not run, because here the dependency is count A and the count A value is still not changed. Okay, so let's do that. Let's see. If we click on count B, you can see the increase is, it is increasing the count, but it is only increasing the count of the, it is logging the inside the count B. So it is not logging the count A. So I hope that's clear. So that is what the main difference is, that here, so when you are passing some dependency array, that means it will run that function, run that useEffect on the initial render, and after that, when the component gets re-rendered, it will check if the value of the data gets changed or not. If the value of the data gets changed, then only it will run that. And that is what the main difference is that. So basically here you can see, like, you can control the useEffect behavior. Okay, so basically if we, instead of if we consider this use case, if we don't pass anything, that means every time that component gets re-rendered, the useEffect tool will still run, always run. But in this case, second case, we can pass some dependency array and we can actually control this behavior, because every time the component gets re-rendered, then if we run this useEffect tool, that will hurt our performance. So that is what we have this thing where we can actually without, instead of blindly running the useEffect tool every time component gets re-rendered, we have some control. We can also make some check that if some data gets changed, then only we want that useEffect to run. So that is what the main difference. So yeah, that is how you can implement useEffect hook using React functional component. Yeah. So that is also a, like, this was also an example of the componentDidUpdate method. But here, instead of componentDidUpdate, we have some control. Okay, we can control, we have some control when we want that useEffect hook to run. So during the starting of the video, you can see this thing. During the starting of the video, I talked about, like, useEffect hook can be used to fetch data from an API. So now I will show you how you can use useEffect hook to load data from an API and show in the screen. So let's go. Okay, so first of all, I will create a state. And after that, I will use an API to fetch data from that API and show it in the screen. So inside the useEffect hook, we will write the data fetching logic here. And we want the data to be loaded, like, we want this function to be run on the first time when the component gets loaded. So we have passed that empty dependency array here. So now inside that, we'll write the data fetching logic here. So we'll create an async function here. Okay, so basically what we have done is that we have created a useEffect hook, and inside that we have created a asynchronous function. When we are using this API, we're fetching the data from an API, and then we are displaying in the screen. So that is how you can use a useEffect hook to fetch data from an API. So if you refresh the screen, you can see. So we are seeing that data is being fetched from the API and showing up in the screen. Now here, one important thing to note is that so basically the thing is, so whenever you are making asynchronous call, API call from the useEffect hook, basically you are using async await keyword, then what you can do is that, so you cannot directly use async on that function which you are using in the useEffect hook. Okay, so you can see in the useEffect hook we are passing this function, so we are not supposed to use async keyword directly on this function. What you can do is that we can inside that function we can create a separate asynchronous function and then call it. So if you see here, that's what we have done here. So we have done this, we have created async keyword in this fetch data function and then we have called it, but we cannot use directly async in here. Okay, so I will just show you by doing that. So React will throw you an error, so I'll just show you that error. So let me remove this function, and so if we refresh this, if we write it like this, so basically we have directly used async on this inner function. If we refresh this page, data is not loading. If we check the error message in the console, you can see it is saying useEffect must return, not return anything besides the function which is used for cleanup. It looks like you wrote this and inside and returned a promise. Yeah, so that is what the problem is. So basically the function that you are running, so basically this actually should not return a promise. Okay, it should return a function. So that is the reason why you cannot directly use async keyword inside that function. So as a workaround, what you can do is that you can remove the async keyword from here. You can create a async function here like that, fetch data, and then you have to call it this function fetch data. Now if we see, if we clear the console, if we refresh the screen, now it is working fine. Okay, so that is the one thing you have to be careful. So just note that you cannot directly use the async keyword inside the function that is being passed in the useEffect. So inside that function you have to create a separate function known as async, and like fetch data, whatever method you can create, and inside that, in that method, in that function we can use the async keyword, and that is how you can fetch data from using useEffect hook. Okay, so that's it about this video about how you can use useEffect hook in React functional component. So I hope this video was useful. If you have any question or you want to suggest some different topic, then you can leave them in the comment below. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and share for more videos like this. Thank you.